Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, explosive video now has resurfaced, a clip of Minnesota Congresswoman, one of the key leaders of the squad, Elon, some people did something, Omar. And in fact, I was on Newsmax yesterday on the Chris Salcedo show discussing this very issue. J.D. Vance has now weighed in. Many people now are weighing in. They are disgusted by what she said in an interview with Al Jazeera. And in that interview with Al Jazeera, this is again in February of 2018, during Bush's first term. Now this video has resurfaced. She was asked about the threat posed by Islamic terrorism within the United States and in countries around the world. Her response was absolutely shocking. There's just no other way to put it. Shocking. She said there is no problem with so-called jihadism. The real problem, according to her, are white men. White men are the problem. White men cause more deaths, she said, in America than any other group. And not only that, white men are the greatest domestic terrorist threats the United States faces. I mean, it's a shocking statement. It's an unbelievably ignorant statement. It's also completely wrong, if you know anything about crime or crime statistics. But as J.D. Vance put it, this is not just sick. This is genocidal. This is genocidal. And so what this sick woman is saying is that white men, an entire category, all white men, me, Mike, just so that you know, you're a scourge on humanity, Mike, okay? You're a walking a KKK white supremacist time bomb. All white men, according to her, now pose a threat to the United States and to the world. Now, this is racism. As I said on Newsmax, and I want to repeat it again, this is pure, unadulterated, vile racism. It's also, as J.D. Vance rightly said, genocidal. Now, we have to ask ourselves, how long are we as a country and a society going to tolerate this? This is a woman who, again, as I pointed out on Newsmax yesterday, this is a woman who committed marriage fraud, immigration fraud. You would think would be thanking her lucky stars that she was allowed to come into America, never mind become a member of Congress from a district in Minnesota, and now one of the most high-profile Democrats in the country. No. This is a woman who committed immigration fraud. She lied. She married her brother, which is incest, to get him papers to come to the United States. By the way, she is married to a white man. This was the point Chris Salcedo said yesterday. He goes, Jeff, I don't get this. She's going on about white men being evil, white men being the scourge, white men being this domestic terrorist threat. White men are the evil scum of humanity. And yet, what is she married to but a white man? So there's some serious... This woman obviously hates America, hates the Constitution, hates Western civilization. She has supported almost every terrorist group on the face of the planet, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Hezbollah, whether you name the terrorist group, she supports them. She is pro-jihadist. She is someone who clearly has embraced Antifa and Black Lives Matter, encouraged them to riot, burn, loot, murder. She has given speeches in front of the Somali community in Minnesota and said repeatedly, I am a Somali first. Our job is to help fellow Somalis here in the United States. Her loyalty is not to America, it is to Somalia. And I believe that she now poses a national security threat to the United States. When you are fomenting terrorism, when you are fomenting this kind of deep-seated genocidal racial hatred, what are we, in South Africa now? I mean, what, does she want to replicate, the war on the white farmer and do that here in the United States? Is this what this woman wants? Does she want a race war? Is this what, are we back in Gaza? And instead of, kill all the Jews, it's kill all the white men? This is a sick, sick, sick woman who clearly has ties to the most dangerous anti-American elements in American society and around the world. And look, she's the most anti-American member of Congress. And that's saying something. That's saying something. So she came here under false pretenses. Your citizenship, when you're a naturalized American, like myself, can be revoked. It's not sacrosanct. If you lied to become an American, if you lied during the process of becoming an American, and remember, when you become an American citizen, you pledge allegiance, you pledge an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States and the republic for which it stands. This woman never seriously meant any word of that oath. This woman is clearly, without question, a terrorist fellow traveler. There's no doubt about it. She engaged in what the radical Islams call stealth jihad. She didn't come here to be an American. She didn't come here to assimilate. She came here to subvert, to spread Sharia law, and to foment. Remember, Congress is run by the Jews, according to Ilhan Omar. It's all about the Benjamins, the $100, the Benjamin Franklins, the $100 bills. So she came here to push for anti-Semitism. She came here to push for jihad. She came here to push for a civilizational war upon the United States, the West, and in her view, obviously, white people, white men in particular. Now, why do we need somebody like this? We don't need her. Why do we need her? All this woman does is cause trouble. And she's now become so arrogant, so full of hubris, that when you literally, reporters ask her questions on any topic, take Abrego Garcia, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and I played the cut, what was it, last week? I mean, this woman is vile. She's a member of Congress who's supposed to be answerable to the media and to the public. And when asked, are you planning to go visit him in El Salvador, her answer is, F off. The guy's like, what? I'm just asking you a simple question. F off. And that F off is the contempt that she has for this country and its people. F off. Now, look, I don't say this lightly. I'm not someone who says throw this person out of Congress, throw this person out of Congress, because you're elected by your voters and you're elected by your constituents. But the fact of the matter is, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, acts like a duck, it's a duck. This woman is an anti-American, anti-white, fellow traveling jihadist. Now, maybe this stuff works in Gaza. Maybe this stuff works in Somalia. Maybe this stuff works in South Africa. But not here in the United States. Here, calling for racial genocide and essentially a holy war and calling for Sharia law and mocking the 3,000 Americans who got slaughtered by Islamist terrorists on 9/11 and defending every Muslim Islamic terrorist group on the planet and pushing for a holy war against the Jews. Hey, we don't need that. That's not, you may think that's diversity. You may think this is making us a better country. It's not. It's not. So, look, Congress now needs to investigate. I think enough is enough. I know J.D. Vance is outraged. I know Marco Rubio is outraged. I know many people in the Trump administration are sickened by this resurfaced clip. Here is now this infamous interview that has now resurfaced. It was February 2018. It was on Al Jazeera. Listen now to Elon, some people did something. Omar, roll cut 28, a mic.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. And so if fear was the driving force of policies to keep America safe, Americans safe inside of this country, we should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
I mean, she's sick. I'm telling you, the woman is sick. She's sick. She's sick. And by the way, it's completely false. It's so outrageously false. You want to look at crime statistics, I could go down the list. It's false. But not just that it's false. It's, look at how she paints with such an incredibly broad brush. All white men. White man. The white man. The white man is a danger. The white man, according to her. And they should be monitored. They should be profiled. They should be spied upon. They should be surveilled. And this is a member of Congress? And someone who allegedly fled a refugee camp. By the way, her father was a very prominent Marxist minister, member of cabinet. He was a butcher. Okay, part of a murderous communist regime. So she had a life of real privilege. You want to talk about a red diaper baby? That's what she is. She's a red-green diaper baby. Green as in the color of Islam. So she's a red-green diaper baby. And she came to this country under false pretenses. She lied about her father being a senior cabinet member of a Marxist regime. She lied about that. She then lied to get her brother over here, married him illegally, committed, marriage fraud to get her brother papers. This woman is a complete fraud. And you look at the people now that she takes money from. You look at the people now that she associates with, whether it's CARE, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's Hamas, whether it's all of these other radical Islamist groups here in America and around the world. If it looks like a terrorist, talks like a terrorist, acts like a terrorist, it's a freaking terrorist. And basically, when confronted now with this resurfaced clip, her answer is F off. That's her answer now to everything and everybody. F off. By the way, she supports Sharia law. And Minnesota, where they've allowed so many Somalis to pour in, by the way, especially in parts of Minneapolis, Minnesota now is the first state in the union. You can look it up. Please don't take my word for it. It is now the first state in the union whereby it is now publicly legal for the Muslim call to prayer. They do it early in the morning. That's their first prayer. You know, they go, Allah, 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 and they announce it over the speakers. Well, it wakes people up, right? Because it's like 4:30 in the morning. In parts of where there's a Muslim majority, in parts of Minneapolis or in Minnesota, they have the right to now, on public megaphones, speakers, announce the Muslim call to prayer. Now, she wants Sharia law in Minnesota, she wants Sharia law in Minneapolis, and eventually she wants Sharia law for the United States of America. Sharia law is incompatible with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Never mind now, basically, her now saying we need a holy war against white men. This woman is trouble. Everywhere she goes, it's trouble. Well, it's also, you're right, Sandy, it's also incompatible with a female congresswoman. But, she doesn't care. Everything is about what they call the Ummah, U-M-M-A-H, which is like a global Muslim caliphate, kind of a world Muslim empire. That's the ultimate goal of radical Islam. That's why they have an alliance with the radical left. I mean, eventually they'll annihilate the radical left, but they hate nation states, they hate borders, they hate America, they hate Israel. So they have formed an alliance with the globalists because in the short term they want the same thing. They want open borders. They want to see the destruction of capitalism. They want to see the destruction of the United States. They want to see Israel wiped off the face of the earth. So this is now what we're importing in this country. This is what we now have in Congress. And right behind her stands Rashida Tlaib, another radical Islamist who calls for Israel and the Jews to be annihilated. And right behind her stands AOC, fellow squad member. And right behind her stands Ayanna Pressley, another fellow squad member. And right behind them stands Bolshevik Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, Granny Warren. And this is the bloc. This is the fifth column that has now entrenched itself in Congress and in the American government and here in the United States. And so the question that I'm asking, and I posed it yesterday on Newsmax, and I want to pose it again to all of you. Is Ilhan Omar a national security threat to the United States? Is J.D. Vance right? Is she now pushing genocidal hatred, racial hatred in America? And if she came under false pretenses, as I believe she did, if she got her immigration papers under false pretenses, if she got her marriage certificate under false pretenses, why can't her citizenship be revoked? Now, she gave a statement recently. It was in Somali. And that's the other thing. She will talk to the Somali community, not in English, but in Somali. And so she said to the Somali community, this was in Minneapolis, she told the Somalis there, and they cheered wildly, I am a little Somali girl. My heart belongs to Somalia. I dream of going back to Somalia. Okay, Ilhan Omar now in the hot seat. Trump is livid. I don't blame him. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio. You've now got Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking up a censure motion in the House over the latest resurfaced clip of Ilhan Omar denouncing all white men and saying that they should be monitored, they should be spied upon. Let me ask all of you. And by the way, a speech that she recently gave to the Somali community in Somali, in her native language, where she said, I'm a little Somali girl, and I dream of returning to our homeland, Somalia. So, look, I think it's time to deport her. I think it's time for her to be investigated, to get her citizenship to be revoked and removed, and to deport her back to Somalia. But that is me. I want to hear from you, Ilhan Omar. Some people did something. That was her infamous response to 9/11. Is she a national security threat? Should Congress investigate? And you heard her own words on Al Jazeera. I just played them before the break. Was it racist? And was it genocidal? As J.D. Vance says, 617-266-6868. What to do with Ilhan Omar? That is now the question. Susie in Carlisle. You're going to kick us off, Susie. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I'm glad you're feeling better. Yes, absolutely. We need to denaturalize her, revoke her naturalization, and deport her. And not just deport her with what she came to my beloved country with, nothing but the clothes on her back and the shoes on her feet. Because you know what? She hates my country so much, she doesn't need to take anything that she has fraudulently gained from coming to my country and lying to come to my country and taking advantage of my country. And you know what? Sharia law is not our law. You want Sharia law? Go back to Somalia. Go back to any one of the nations. There are numerous nations that practice Sharia law. You're more comfortable there? Go. Goodbye. If she's not willing to do it on her own, then absolutely. Denaturalize her, deport her, and don't do it quietly. Make an example of her. We are a free nation. That doesn't mean that they have the right to twist and dement and pervert our Constitution to how they view it, that it should be. No. Goodbye. Bye-bye. So long.
Susie, let me. You're on fire, Susie. Let me ask you. I'm just curious. What do you think drives a hater? And she really is now. She's a clear hater. She's a clear Islamic extremist. There's no question now. There's no question. She reminds me of these radical Islamists that you see, in Paris, in Berlin, in London, and now we're bringing it here into the United States. There's no question. To me, there's no question now. She's been outed completely in every way. But what drives someone like her to go on about the evils of white men? And remember, this is a member of Congress. This is a woman that sits on committees. This is a woman that gets access to all kinds of very sensitive information. This is a woman now that's dealing with other governments. By the way, the Somali government as well. She's basically seen as the go-to person for the Somali government. So this is a woman now with considerable clout and influence on Capitol Hill. And she hates all white men, but she marries a white man. She comes to this country as a refugee, even though she grew up in the lap of luxury because she was part of a Marxist communist family who was part of the ruling party that just murdered, I don't know how many people, countless people. But eventually the communists lost. Her father was overthrown from power, and she ended up in a camp. She comes here with the clothes on her back, and she spits on this country while she's now worth millions of dollars. She's a millionaire. She lives in one of the toniest, swankiest parts of Washington in a apparently luxury condo with her husband. She's got another luxury home back in Minneapolis. She's living high on the hog. So you come here penniless. You come here broke. You come here from a refugee camp. Yet you hate and spit on this country. You hate all white men, but you marry a white man. Forgive me, you sleep with a white man. How do you explain someone like this? No, really. Is she mentally ill? Or is she a plant? Because that's what many people in the audience honestly believe. They're texting me, messaging me, emailing me, saying, Jeff, I'm telling you, this woman is a plant. She is a mole for the Islamists. What say you, Susie?
She She was born into this. She was indoctrinated from birth. This is how she was raised. It's ingrained hatred. And you said it yourself. She came from a communist upbringing. You know, my grandparents came here in 1913, 1915. My father on that side came here in 1956. So both sides of my family came here. They became naturalized American citizens. They embraced America. They assimilated. They became United States citizens, and they loved this country. And guess what? All of my ancestry, all of it, both sides of my family, Austrian, Hungarian, and German. Can't get more communist, can't get more Marxist, and they left it behind them. Why? Because they knew it was not the way of life that they wanted to live. She's refusing to assimilate. She is refusing to let go of what she claims she fled from. And yes, I believe also, like your other texters and the rest of your Kuhner country, she is a plant. She's just, again, destroy from within. Put them in there, see how far they can go, see what they can get away with, see how they can twist and dement the Constitution and use the Constitution against the people that love and revere and respect the nation and Constitution. And that's what she's doing. That's why I say, yeah, denaturalize her, deport her, but deport her the same way she came in. Clothes on her back, shoes on her feet, and that stupid thing she wears around her head, that whatever it is, I don't even care.
The hijab. It's called the hijab. Susie, thank you very much. Very, very good call. I agree with you. I think she is a mole. I think she is a plant. I think there's no question now. And she's definitely a fifth columnist. There's no question. And notice, the more she opens her mouth, the more vile and disgusting she is. And, that's what she says, and that's what she thinks at home. I mean, it's incredible. No, throw all the white men in a camp. Monitor them, spy on them. If you can't kill them, eradicate them. Take their land, take their property, take everything. I mean, the woman is sick. And you can see, she wants a jihad. She's itching for civilizational jihad. She wants to bring the Middle East and Gaza in particular here into the United States. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Larry in Leominster. How much time left, Mike? Okay, Larry, can you hang on? Sorry, I missed the clock count. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, we're going to go right back to Larry in Leominster. Just before I do, this is from Marianne down in Florida on Messenger. Jeff, as far as I'm concerned, Ilhan Omar is a national security threat and always has been, along with the entire so-called squad. They all should be investigated and never allowed to hold office, public office, ever again. And Omar should be deported. And one last thing, her white husband better watch his back. I agree with you. I really agree with you, Marianne. I don't trust this woman as far as I can throw her. And when you're that openly racist against white people, but especially white men, I don't know. I don't know if being married to her is such a good idea. I mean, it's his business. It's his life, and he's a hardcore moonbat. He's one of these, Bernie bros. He's a big Bernie supporter. Her husband is. So, he's a hardcore leftist. But no, look, she shouldn't be allowed to hold, at a minimum, she should not be allowed to hold public office. I think there's no question. And she's definitely a national security threat. And I would have her investigated by Congress. I think her citizenship should be revoked, and I think she should be removed back to Somalia. She should be deported back to Somalia. But at a bare minimum, Congress needs to investigate this woman. This woman is dangerous, and she's no longer hiding it. Say an anti-American to her core. Larry in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Larry. And as always, welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, to your
Hi,
audience. My name is Larry. I identify as a threat. My pronouns are try me.
Larry, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, she needs to be deported, but it needs to be strategic. I don't want to see President Trump coming out and bashing her, because the Democrats are going to say, oh, he's just, being a bully and all this stuff. It should be people like Paulina Luna, Marjorie Taylor Greene. The females of the Republican Party need to coordinate and go after this woman. That you got to be able to take away that power of, oh, she's just a poor Somali child who is being picked on because of her beliefs. Get rid of her. Get rid of her husband/brother/husband, however you want to couch that.
Well, Larry, did you ever think, this is how far we've fallen. I hate to speak like this, but I'm just calling it the way I see it. You have a leading member of Congress, and whether we want to admit it or not, she's a high-profile Democrat. She's got a ton of national support. They love her in the Somali community in Minneapolis. She's one of the key members of the Squad, which is really driving the Democratic Party. It's really becoming their party. She's got tremendous support in the media. Bernie loves her. Warren loves her. Ed Markey loves her. AOC adores her. So, she's got tremendous support at the highest levels of the Democratic Party. And yet, she's basically calling for the liquidation of all white men. She's basically saying white men are inherently white supremacist. They're evil. That's why J.D. Vance was said, he goes, I'm sickened by this. I've seen the cut. I saw the clip. This is J.D. And he said, this is not just, racist. This is literally genocidal. You're talking now about, potentially annihilating or imprisoning or whatever, jailing or, whatever, getting rid of an entire category of human beings because of the color of their skin and their gender. I'm telling you, what is this, Rwanda? And the Hutus and the Tutsis? And so that we have fallen this far, and that you have someone who so clearly says Sharia law supersedes the Constitution, and who clearly says my allegiance is to Islam. My allegiance, in fact, she openly said it, my allegiance is to Somalia. It's not to the United States. We're not even talking dual loyalty. That was always the question in the past was, well, okay, you're loyal to America, but are you loyal to, your loyalty is also to another country. And in that clash, in that conflict, that tension, does your allegiance to America supersede that of this other country? That was always the accusation or the fear. We're not even talking about dual loyalty. She's making it clear, I've got one loyalty. It's to Islam and it's to Somalia. And this is one of the most powerful Democrats in the country? Holy shamoli. Larry, final word to you.
If I'm struggling to remember, who was that gentleman who said that if it came down to it, he would side with Islam over America? God, he was a prominent something or other. Well, who was that? Was that Obama?
Oh, that's a good point, Larry. That is a very good point. So, Larry, you're basically saying now that many of these sort of more militant or radical Muslims, they're just showing us their true colors now. That their loyalty is to Islam, not to America, correct?
This is basically the demonstration that the difference between a Republican's idea of a melting pot and a Democrat's idea of a melting pot. The stark contrast. When you came through, when Grace came through, when my friends' parents who immigrated here when we were kids in the 70s came through, they wanted to become Americans. They cherished the idea of being named an American. They worked their tails off. They took the oath, and they meant it. Now it's platitude. They really don't like America, but they want to invade and take over the culture. This whole experiment they've been trying of a melting pot does not work.
Larry, honestly, I dropped the mic. I think really, I couldn't have said it better myself. They came in under false pretenses to invade and take over. And in all honesty, they're doing it in Austria, in Vienna. You got to see Vienna now. Vienna is almost a Muslim city. It's heartbreaking. They've done it in Germany. They've done it in France. They've done it in Italy. They've done it in Britain. They've done it in Canada. They've done it in Australia. They're trying now to do it here in America. I think there's no question. There is absolutely no question. And I think it's time for America to wake up. Larry, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
That was a great caller. Yeah, that's awesome. I think if they deported Ilhan Omar, I would be happier than the Trump victory. That's like really setting a statement. It's unbelievable. Well, she calls the white men evil and stuff, but I guess it's time for the white men to put their cowboy hats on and start lassoing them up and get them out of our country. They don't want us. They don't like us. They want to just take over and make us, I don't know, rule under their rule. It's not happening. I hope they hear my voice. Hey, one other thing, Jeff.
Go ahead, Angelo.
Kamala Harris, it was really funny. She had that speech, and she's talking about the earthquake, about the elephants gathering up in a circle to protect the vulnerable. Well, you know, every fight she chooses or saying she says really burns her in the butt, because think of it. What do elephants represent?
Yeah, Republicans, and donkeys represent Democrats.
Exactly. So she can't even get her thoughts together. But, hey, being it said, Trump is the lead elephant, and he's gathering up and he's making a circle to protect the vulnerable. And in this case, it's Americans that are paying, working hard, and getting the last of everything in our country. And it's time he's fighting for Americans, and I'm glad she said it for him. Thanks, Kamala. That was a great thing to do.
Angelo, thank you. You're right, Angelo. Angelo, thank you very much for that call. No, look, he's right. They want to take over. They hate us. They hate America. They hate the West. They hate our way of life. They hate Christians. They hate Jews. And look, here, I mean, I don't want to get bogged down in this today, because I think this is going to be a huge story, and we'll talk about it in some future show. But India and Pakistan are now on the verge of potentially World War III. Pakistan is a nuclear-armed power. India is a nuclear-armed power. As I speak to you now, they are at war. Pakistan has come out and said we are now at war. So last week, a Muslim militants, Islamic terrorists from Pakistan, as Obama likes to call them, infiltrated Indian-controlled Kashmir. Kashmir is a disputed region between Pakistan and India. Both countries own or occupy a slice of it. Well, Muslim Pakistani terrorists infiltrated into Indian-controlled Kashmir and slaughtered, it was butchery, slaughtered 26 innocent civilians. 25 Indian tourists, forgive me, and one Nepali citizen. 26 people were slaughtered. 25 of them Indian civilians. India responded yesterday, and with a devastating series of missile strikes targeting these Islamic terrorist camps that they used to train these people to attack India. Pakistan now says this is an invasion. They claim they've shot down several Indian warplanes. They're now putting their country's military on a wartime footing. India now says they're putting their country's military on a wartime footing. And now Pakistan says they are at war with India. Trump is feverishly working the phones. So is Rubio. So is Vance. China, just so that you know, is backing Pakistan. So China is putting all of their weight behind Pakistan. We are now going to throw our support behind India. Now, the point being, India has some of the most nuclear weapons in the world. So does Pakistan. After us, Russia, China, it's India and Pakistan. Now, point being, these radical Islamists bent on jihad, bent on expanding the Muslim caliphate into Kashmir, right into India, they may get the whole world blown up because of their hatred for the Hindus and the Indians and over freaking Kashmir. So this threat of radical Islam is not just within America. It's not just within Europe. It's not just across the Middle East and Africa. It is now right there within India, on India's doorstep. And, you know, it's always the problems you don't see that end up getting you. And everybody was focused on Iran, which I'm not disputing. I'm just saying everybody was focused on Iran. Everybody's been focused, obviously, on Ukraine and Russia. But here it comes. Now, India is not the aggressor. Pakistan is the aggressor. It was Muslim terrorists who invaded India and slaughtered innocent Indians. And as I pointed out on X last night, like Israel, India has the right to defend itself. But it doesn't matter. Wherever radical Islam spreads, it's like a cancer. They annihilate Jews. They annihilate Christians. In this case, they're annihilating Hindus. It doesn't matter. Everywhere they go, it's trouble. And Pakistan is the only Muslim country in the world with the nuclear bomb. Now, I hope it doesn't get to that point. Already they're trying to, Trump in particular is getting involved. He's trying to de-escalate the situation. And all I was thinking last night when the news finally broke, and by the way, Pakistan is getting pounded. I mean, the Indians aren't messing around. You got to see the video footage that's coming out. I mean, airstrikes, missile strikes. I mean, India is trying to teach them a lesson. But the point is, all I'm thinking is, thank you, God, Joe Biden is not in the White House. Seriously, thank you, God, Kamala Harris is not in the White House. You've got two nuclear-armed powers. And just so that you know, they have fought 3 wars in the last century alone over Kashmir. Not 1, not 2, 3. Now it could be a 4th. You've got 2 nuclear-armed powers rushing at each other's throats because the radical Islamists want to annex and conquer Kashmir from India and are so freaking bloodthirsty that these savages attacked a group of helpless, innocent Indian tourists with the infamous Allah Akbar and then just gunned them down. And India is saying, hey, listen, man, if France wants to be taken over, if Spain wants to be taken over, if Great Britain wants to go down without a shot, this is India. We're going to fight. You kill our own, we're going to respond. And so here we are. But my larger point is, where's the peace? The BS that we've been sold from the liberal media and liberal politicians for the last 25 years. Peace. It's a religion of peace. Where's the peace? Where's the peace? There's never any peace. And I'll bet you the best steak at your steakhouse of choice. Don't take me up on it because you're going to lose. Trust me, you're going to pay a lot of money, so don't do it. You ask Ilhan Omar right now. Call her up on the phone. Pakistan or India? And by the way, China is fully backing Pakistan, just that you know. So who do you side with, Pakistan or India? Pakistan. I guarantee you she sides with Pakistan. I guarantee it. Every time radical Islam strikes, that's where Ilhan Omar's heart is. And that tells you everything you need to know. She's a pro-jihadist, she's an Islamist, and she sides with the Islamic takeover, forgive me, the Islamic takeover of the West. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Dave in Revere. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
How you doing, Jeff? Jeff,
Well, I'm still battling my pneumonia, but I'm getting better, Dave. But thanks for asking.
well, I got a cure for that. Find yourself a nice bag of weed and smoke a joint. You feel no pain at all, Jeff.
They got me on strong antibiotics, Dave.
I understand.
Dave, buddy, tell me,
Jeff?
so what do you make of this? Ilhan Omar now says white men are a cancer. White men are the greatest domestic terrorist threats to America and to the world. What say you?
But I tell her the KMA, number one, and shut her mouth, number two, and get her out of here like yesterday, Jeff. Get her out. All she wants to do is talk a bunch of trash. She's just as bad as Elizabeth Warren and everybody else. Get her out of here. Matter of fact, when they get her out of here, Jeff, put her on a cargo plane with no seats, fly over some Colorado Canyon someplace, and just like bye-bye without a parachute. She don't need to be here, Jeff. All she wants to do is put down white men now, and she's married to her brother, which is incest and sodomy and everything else that goes on top of that. Jeff, she needs to go. She needs to go yesterday. Not today, not tomorrow, yesterday. All she wants to do is just keep on talking to whatever the word is, racism and everything else. Jeff, she needs to go. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these terrorist organizations coming in here, and Obama let them in, Biden let them in, and now look what we got, Jeff. The world's a mess. She needs to go, along with every other one that's in the Congress right now, and all the traitors and the treasoners in the White House.
I agree. You know, Dave, honestly, really, they're fifth columnists. They really are. And, you know, notice, they don't come here to give, to contribute, to build, to make this country better. Look, nothing but hatred, complaining, division, polarization. All they do is take, and tear down, tear down, tear down. And I'm like, why? We don't need this. We don't need it. And so to me, when you have a cancer, and Ilhan Omar to me is a clear political cancer, you excise it. You get rid of it. You remove it. So to me, look, it's time again for Congress to do its job. Censure her, investigate her, remove her citizenship, revoke her citizenship, and deport her ass back to Somalia. Enough with this woman. And and we've got to send a message. Sharia law will never be accepted in the United States of America. If Europe wants to go down, that's their business. But we're not going down. Okay, my friends. Wednesday, always at this time in this during this hour, You know what this is? Truth or troll? Take it away, Mike.
And now, America's favorite game show, where you get to decide on the Kuhner Report. This is Truth or Troll.
Today's entry of Truth or Troll comes from President Trump during an interview with NBC, where when asked by Kristen Welker about a specific way to take over Greenland.
You are not ruling out military force to take Greenland.
I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there. We need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security.
So what do you think, Jeff? We going in with the military to Greenland? Taking it over that way?
I don't think so, Mike.
But Trump says never say never.
Well, let me ask the audience. What do you think? Is Trump serious? Is it the truth? Or do you think he's just having a little bit of fun at the media's expense, that he's trolling them? Truth or troll, A or B? You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, or if you prefer, you can vote via X, and if you were following me last night, Kuhnerman, very active on X. So you can vote there as well. My handle, at the Kuhner Report. It's all one word. Kuhn as in national ER. Okay. Ilhan Omar. Some people did something. Is a huge proponent of open borders. She has staked her political career on it, as has now the entire Democratic Party. This is the hill that they want to die on. And they are doing everything in their power, not just to flood our country with illegals, but now to prevent Trump from deporting illegals, especially violent criminal illegals. I want you now to listen to this story, because it's both local, but it is now going national, and I'm telling you, this is going to be, I'd be shocked if this story doesn't go viral, because it's already getting national attention. In Cape Cod, okay, on Cape Cod, there was a home daycare center that was run by Francielle Nunez. She was living with a man, a Brazilian migrant, an illegal alien, by the name of Tiago Lucas. Now, you may say, Jeff, okay, a home daycare center on the Cape, this Brazilian migrant, Tiago Lucas. Jeff, okay, who cares? Listen to this. This daycare on Cape Cod had to be closed this week. Why? Because it was disclosed that Tiago Lucas, this illegal alien from Brazil, was actually wanted for child rape in his home country. He was convicted of raping a 13-year-old child. He's a pedophile. Okay, he's a child molester. But it gets even worse. He came in under Biden's open border. And then he came and entered into Massachusetts because Governor Holdit Maura Healey made Massachusetts a sanctuary state. And as I pointed out on X, here's another scandal tied to Maura Healey's sanctuary state policy. So this pedophile illegally comes into Massachusetts because she's now made it so easy. There's no vetting. There were no background checks. There was nobody to make sure that animals like this weren't allowed to come in. No. He ends up shacking up with this Franciel Nunez. Now remember, she's running a home daycare center. Literally, there were young, small children who were there for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And this animal, this child molester, this child rapist, was living at that home daycare. Now, finally, ICE agents were able to arrest this guy, Tiago Lucas, in Bourne. This was last October. They finally were able to track him down. By the way, no help from Healy. No. Why would you help them track down a child molester? Of course not. Hey, let him rape more children. What the hell? So, this Brazilian illegal alien is allowed to come into Massachusetts. This child rapist is then given a place to stay as he's shacking up with the woman who runs the place, with access to young children 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And apparently local authorities, state authorities, they do their usual background checks. There are no background checks. Apparently he was there for years. For years. And these idiots that would come in and do the inspection are like, it looks like there's nobody here. Now, he's off the streets. ICE has arrested him. But now the daycare has been closed. Now, here is to me the most outrageous part of all. The media can't sweep this scandal under the rug. They just can't. So now they're trying to spin it as, we need better background checks at daycare centers. No. We need to end this insane sanctuary state policy. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Maura Healey's got to go. Maura Healey's got to go. And when you start allowing child rapists, convicted, I want to stress this, convicted child rapists, to come into your state under the guise that we're a sanctuary for all illegal aliens, you are now endangering every single child in this state. You're endangering the community. You're endangering every resident, every citizen. This woman is evil. She's insane. Now, I don't know how many more scandals we have to have, seriously, before the corrupt media in this state finally decides to do its job. And so, again, just to remind everybody, on Saturday, not this Saturday, the following Saturday, May 17th, 10 a.m. to noon, we are going to hold a massive rally at the steps of the State House, right in front of Boston Common. I will be emceeing the rally. I will be speaking at the rally. And we're there to demand that they open up the books, that the state audit that the voters of this state voted for by 72% in November 2024, that it be respected by these corrupt politicians on Beacon Hill who are refusing to comply with the will of the voters. Now, just so that all of you know, this is not just a local story. It's not just a state story. It's happening all over the country, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I'm just going now. Fox News has now covered this story, and here is now what they're saying. Under Healy, the state of Massachusetts has now spent over $3 billion taxpayer dollars. That's your money, my money, our money. $3 billion in taxpayer dollars simply to house and shelter these illegal aliens and so-called migrants. Now, we're going to bankrupt ourselves because this is where it's all leading to. By the way, with all these illegals coming in, rent is going up. because you don't have housing. So American citizens can't get emergency relief or emergency shelters. That's all taken up by the illegals. Veterans now are on the streets because they don't have housing because they're giving it all to the illegals. And as I pointed out recently, now Healy has put in a new program. Everybody's obsessed with the Karen Reed trial. So as everybody's focusing on Karen Reed and is she framed? Did she really kill John O'Keefe? And everyone's going back and forth on this. She just implemented a program. Here it is. $25,000 a year. Taxpayer money, your money, my money, to subsidize illegal aliens, whether they want to rent an apartment, whether they want to rent a townhome or rooms in a home or whatever it is. Over $2,000 a month they will get in taxpayer money for rent and housing subsidies. And by the way, automatically renewed every year. Every year, just keeps going. Renewed. 25 grand a year, our money, going to illegal aliens for housing. Now, it's A, going to bankrupt us, B, it's ripping us off. But what do you think that's doing to the cost of housing? What do you think that's doing to the cost of rent? No wonder rent is soaring. You flood the state with illegals. You put them up in every freaking shelter. Then you give them $2,000 a month to go out there and get any rental apartment they can get. So what do you think happens? Rent goes up and there's not rental units or housing units available for legal residents and citizens. Hey, this is not rocket science, man. And now you have this outrageous scandal of a freaking convicted child rapist. We're talking children, man. And this woman that ran this home daycare, this Francelle Nunez, she's a complete scumbag. You shack up with a guy that likes to do kids, and you allow him to have access to children that parents are entrusting you with their child? Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. And it's such a big scandal, and it's such an outrageous scandal, because we're talking now about the most vulnerable. We're talking about our innocent children. So the media now has to come in and say, how do we spin this? Can't blame it on Healy. No, hey, hold it, Healy. No way. Can't blame it on the border. Come on, sanctuary state. Come on. We need stricter background checks at these home daycare centers. No. Oh, well, yeah, fine. I don't mind stricter background checks. How about no sanctuary state policy? How about we don't allow illegals to come into our country? How about we don't allow illegals to come into our state? How about we deport their freaking ass? Did that ever occur to you, Moonbats? Hello? No, that doesn't compute with you? Now, it's not just Massachusetts. Okay, so by the way, we're going to hold that rally because Healy needs to be held accountable. The corrupt politicians need to be held accountable. And I want to know, what are they hiding? Because I'm telling you, I don't believe it's $3 billion. High as that is, I believe it's more. In fact, I know it's more. And they don't want us to know where all of this money is going and how much of it is going, not just to their cronies, to their friends, corruption, kickbacks, lining their pockets, but how much of it is also going to illegals. Now, people tell me, Jeff, I'm sick and tired of what's happening in this state. I can't take it anymore. I'm with you. I'm with you, my brothers and sisters. I'm with you. I hear you, brother. I need you at that rally. We've got to show numbers to finally force some change. If we stay quiet, nothing's going to change. I got things to do on a Saturday as well. Believe me, I love my kids. I love my wife. I don't think 2 hours is asking for too much. And we're going to take, God willing, our government back, our state back, and ultimately our money and our self-respect back. Because that's what this is all about. Now, Wisconsin. The moonbat governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, has now sent a memo to all state employees urging them not to cooperate with ICE, not to cooperate with Tom Homan, going as far as he can possibly go to essentially say, conceal and harbor and protect as many illegal aliens from deportation or being arrested as possible. This is now Wisconsin. So we're not talking Mass. We're not talking California, Illinois, New York. No. This rebellion against Trump, la résistance, the resistance. Now it's in Wisconsin. I want you to listen now to Tom Homan. I'm going to play it on the other side. On Evers' memo, which lays out explicit steps. It is specific. How state workers need to harbor illegal aliens and how they can try obstruct ICE and prevent agents from arriving at government buildings if they're trying to arrest an illegal alien or a criminal violent gangbanger. Okay, listen now. This is Border Czar Tom Homan on Wisconsin's far-left governor, Tony Evers. Really, he could give Gavin Newsom or Pritzker out in Illinois or Hochul in New York or our own Healy a run for their money. You want to talk about a moonbat's moonbat. Oh, that's Tony Evers. So, he has put out a very controversial memo laying out, again, to me, this is clearly arrestable. This is illegal. I don't care if it's from the governor. I don't care who it's from. Harboring illegals is harboring illegals. Obstructing law enforcement is obstructing law enforcement. But let that go. It gives explicit steps, detailed steps, for Wisconsin state workers to harbor illegal aliens and to try to do everything in their power to prevent and block ICE if they come into a government building in order to arrest illegal aliens, and that includes MS-13 Tren-Aragua gangbangers. Again, this love affair that Democrats have for murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, and child molesters, these people are sick. I'm telling you, they're absolutely sick. Listen now to Homan saying, you're committing a felony. What you're doing is committing a felony. Don't do it. Roll cut 29. Mike.
Your comments on the Wisconsin governor sending directives to state agencies to not comply with ICE to actually stop your deportation efforts.
Wait to see what's coming.
Any updates on the military?
I meant what I said. You cannot support what we're doing. And you can support sanctuary cities. That's what you want to do. But if you cross that line of impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing illegal alien, that is a felony. And we're treated as such.
So basically, you impede us or you knowingly harbor and conceal illegal aliens, it's a felony, and we're going to treat it as such. Now, again, he's warned Michelle Wu repeatedly, nothing's happened. He's warned other governors repeatedly, nothing's happened. He's now warning Evers. So far, nothing has happened. Listen now to Tony Evers, Wisconsin Moonbat, their governor. He responds to Homan's comments that obstructing ICE is a felony. Roll cut 30, a mic.
Yesterday, a Trump administration official, in not so many words, apparently threatened to arrest me for distributing guidance that asks state agency employees to consult with an attorney if federal agents show up at state buildings with legal documents. The goal of this guidance was simple: to provide clear, consistent instructions to state employees and ensure they have a lawyer to help them comply with all federal and state laws. Nothing more, nothing less.
I mean, this is unbelievable. You know, so now he's afraid. He's worried he may get arrested. So he's like, we just want them to know their rights. We just want to make sure that, hey, get a lawyer. Hey, come on. They just have to make sure that, hey, you got a lawyer and you know all your rights. And again, where were they for the January 6ers? Here, another scandal just broke. Another one. I could do this all day, off every 4 hours every day. It's now come out that the Biden regime willfully, deliberately, knowingly told the FBI, ordered the FBI to monitor, surveil, and spy on American citizens who were conservatives. In other words, anybody who disagreed or dissented from the Biden regime. And they were explicitly given orders. This was our corrupt FBI. Spy on them, surveil them. They do anything wrong. Literally, jaywalk, arrest them. Now, how come Tony Evers isn't upset about that? I'm just giving that as an example. I mean, I could go on and on. No. There were no lawyers from any J6ers. No. Catholics who were harassed, no lawyers for them. Parents, when they went to school boards to complain about racism being taught to their kids, or pornography being peddled on their second graders and third graders, suddenly, no, they don't need lawyers. But now, for illegals, and again, they're going after the worst of the worst. These are people who are rapists, who are murderers, who are foreign terrorists, who are gangbangers. And all of a sudden, your heart bleeds. You got to make sure they get a lawyer? You phony, you fraud, you. And these people are, the self-hatred that they have for their own citizens and their own country, these people are not, they have a death wish. Really, I'm serious. It's getting to the point, you know what? Stick this guy, I'm not kidding, stick this guy in a jail cell with MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Because you love him so much, Tony, why don't you spend 24 hours with him? And see how you walk out of there. If you're lucky if you walk out of there alive. One more, and then I want to go to the phone lines. 617-266-6868. And this is now right wing. Now, you see, if you want to deport violent, criminal, illegal aliens, you're right wing now. This is and it's all misinformation, misinformatio. No, these are good, decent illegals. They're the salt of the earth. These are good people. Roll cut 30A. Mike.
Republicans and their right-wing allies, including Elon Musk, lied about this guidance, spread misinformation, accused me of doing things I didn't do or say, and fueled a fake controversy of their own creation. Now, I'm used to Republicans and the right wing lying about me. It comes with a job. But this time, these lies came at a cost. I haven't broken the law, I haven't committed a crime, and I've never encouraged or directed anyone to break any laws or commit any crimes.
You have. And you know you have. Every illegal alien, I mean, I don't know how many ways I can say it, so let me say it one more time. Get it through your thick moonbat skull. Every illegal alien in the United States is a criminal. And so, if you invite them, as you have, to come to your state, you are aiding and abetting criminal behavior. You are harboring them. You are concealing them. Hello? Like, really, the Republicans and their right-wing allies, of course, along with Elon Musk, have been attacking me. And this comes with the job I'm Tony B.S. Evers. I'm a loser, and really, unless I become a hero of the resistance, really, I'm going to be out on my rear end in the next election. But just don't arrest me, okay? But I want to be a fake tough guy. I mean, I swear, where do they find these moonbats? He's bringing in illegals. He's turning his state into a sanctuary state. He's now telling state employees to try to obstruct ICE. Homan, I'm telling you, I love you, but you got to start arresting these guys. Evers has to go to the clink. He's obviously nervous. I mean, he's shaking like a leaf. Put him behind bars. Put Pritzker behind bars. Put Johnson, the Brandon Johnson, that crazy mayor of Chicago, behind bars. Put Michelle Wu behind bars. Put Maura Healey behind bars. Just start locking these people up. Like, really, enough is enough. Now, if they want to die on this hill, let them politically die on this hill. Believe me, the American people are disgusted with them. And these illiberals have no sense or understanding of just how much they are loathed and hated by the rest of the country. We've had it. The country's had it. And by the way, illegal aliens are not entitled to trials. They're not entitled to have their cases adjudicated in court. You can make up rights all you want. Obama deported 5 million of them. Bush, 10 million of them. Clinton, 12 million of them. That's 27 million deportations. The overwhelming majority of them were non-judicial removals, i.e., no trials, no adjudicated cases. This is all a lie. Because if you're here illegally, ICE has the right, under the laws passed by Congress and the Constitution, to grab you and deport your ass ASAP. End of story. The only few cases that go to adjudication, just so that you know, in which we're talking about, quote, due process rights, in which there's a trial with a lawyer and the right of an appeal, is, say, someone who's here on a student visa, and then the visa expires. And then the person may claim, no, I thought it was renewed, or I want to renew it, or somebody comes on a work visa and says, oh, my visa expired? Oh, really? Well, I'm in the process of trying to get another work visa. In other words, people who had come into our country legally and then overstayed their visa. And then there's a dispute about whether they can be deported, should be deported. Did they try to renew? Was there a problem with the bureaucracy? Was it renewed and ICE didn't get the memo or whatever? In other words, that's where it's adjudicated. But this idea that somehow you come in illegally, I got rights. I got a right to a lawyer. I got a right to a trial. I got a right to an individual adjudication. Bull crap. It's a lie. Now, President Trump is trying to do an end run around these insane governors and mayors and these judges that keep blocking him over and over and over again. And so what I want to ask Kuhner Country is this. He's now come out with a policy, a new policy, to provide a real incentive to self-deportation. And what it is let us pay for a flight back. So all these illegals, you say, look, I'll tell you what we're going to do for you. You don't have to go back on your own. You don't have to try to find out how to get back to your country. We're going to pay for your flight back home. It's going to be a nice flight back home. And then when you land in your country, they're going to put them all on the Customs and Border Protection app. Once they are confirmed that they're back in their country of origin, then you're going to get $1,000 cash stipend. Basically $1,000. And you can then potentially, if you want down the road, legally apply to return to the United States. So, free flight back home and $1,000 cash stipend, but only when it's confirmed that you've arrived back in your home country. Now, Trump's, point is, it's a hell of a lot cheaper to do it this way than it is to do it through these deportations, which are very expensive. It costs about $17,000 to track them down, round them up, deport them. So they say it's much cheaper to do it self-deportation than actual deportations. And as I pointed out on X, it's also infinitely cheaper than if they stay and they're collecting taxpayer-paid, quote-unquote, free welfare or food stamps or health care or rent. And as Steve Miller pointed out, he said, these illegals, many of them have been here 20, 25 years. All of the government benefits that they're getting, it amounts to about $1 million. He goes, you realize this? It's about $1 million. All of the cash payments, the welfare, the education, the health care, the whole kit and caboodle. Once you give them all of these benefits, year after year after year after year, he goes, it's about $1 million. So deporting them for $1,000 and a free flight back home, personally, I don't like the principle of it. I don't like to give anybody $1,000 if they broke our laws and, broke into our country. But it's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than if they stay or if we actually have to physically keep deporting these people. So Trump is a pragmatic businessman and he says, look, let's try to make this as cheap and efficient as possible. Listen now to President Trump announcing his new initiative, Roll Cut 25, Mike.
But what we thought we'd do is a self-deport, where we're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from, and they have a period of time. And if they make it, we're going to work with them so that maybe someday, with a little work, they can come back in if they're good people, if they're the kind of people that we want in our company, industrious people that could love our country. And if they're not, they won't. But it will give them a path to becoming, to coming back into the country. If they miss that limit, they're going to be taken out of our country, and they will never get a path to come back in, and it'll be a much tougher process. And it's called self-deportation.
So basically, look, I'm trying to be reasonable. That's Trump's position. I'll tell you what, we're going to pay nice flight back home. You don't have to worry about how you're going to get back home. When you land, and we're sure you're back in it's not a scam. So you're not going to scam us. I'm just going to pick a country. You're back in Guatemala. Okay, just randomly I'll pick a country. We know you're there on the app. Bang, you'll get $1,000 cash wired to you. And if you want to try to apply to come back, you may legally. But if we have to deport you, and we do deport you, you're never coming back. You're never going to have a chance to come back. Now, let me ask all of you, deal or no deal? Do you support this self-deportation plan of a free flight back home, $1,000 cash, and down the road they'll have a chance, no guarantee, but they'll have a chance to reapply to enter the United States the legal way, legally? Or do you think we're rewarding lawbreaking? That in the end, they still get a free flight and they still get $1,000 cash, and that just the principle, it's the wrong thing to do. You squat in someone's home, you shouldn't have to give them $1,000 to leave your home. So my question to you, Do you support Trump's self-deportation plan? I'll be honest, I back it. I don't like the principle of it, but I back it because it's cheaper, it's quicker, it's more efficient than if we do deport them all. And the countries that have tried this program, Germany, Denmark, as Sweden, some countries that have tried it have actually had great success. Believe it or not, if they think you're serious about securing the border and deporting people, they'll say, you know, if I'm going to leave, at least I don't have to pay for my way back home, and I still put $1,000 in my pocket, which for a lot of people is a lot of money, especially in the third world. And who knows, maybe I'll get a chance to come back. So they have had some success with this. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you support it? Do you not support it? 617-266-6868 is the number. Maggie in Amesbury. Thanks for holding, Maggie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Maggie.
I just wanted to comment on the daycare center and what happened.
Yes.
Now, I don't know this specific case, but because I do background checks for the state as well, I just wanted to point out that there are limitations, and that is why we really do need, the assistance of ICE and cooperation of leadership. Because anybody that works with children in the state, they get extra scrutiny in their background check. But you're limited in that we don't know what happens in another country, say Brazil in this case. We don't get that information. And also, when it comes to inspections, you're not there 24/7. So, again, I don't know what happened in this specific case, but it's very easy to make something look good during a state inspection. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, why would a state agency not welcome the help of ICE? I mean, we don't want these people with children. So, knowing that you are limited despite your best background check ability, they're blaming it on the wrong. I guess they're trying to make a scapegoat right out of the wrong thing.
That's right. No, you're completely right. No, Maggie, you are 1,000, not 100, 1,000% correct. Because they want to deflect attention from where it really belongs, which is the governor and her insane and I believe really dangerous, very dangerous sanctuary state policies. And you're completely right. Why wouldn't you cooperate with ICE? Look, everybody knows illegal immigration is one of the biggest, if not the biggest problem this country faces. We've got 40 million illegals. 20 million were allowed in under Biden alone. Our state, just in Massachusetts, is flooded with illegals. So why not cooperate with ICE? Okay, let me ask all of you. It's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Do you support Trump's plan or his initiative, Trump's initiative to offer a free flight and $1,000 cash to any illegal alien who agrees to self-deport? In other words, yes or no, deal, no deal, like, don't like. Do you agree with Trump's proposal, and Holman apparently backs it as well, that, you know what, it'll facilitate, make it easier for us to deport a lot of people if they self-deport. Let's give them an incentive, a financial incentive, a transportation incentive, free flight, $1,000 cash, and we will allow you to apply to come back legally. No guarantees, but you will have a chance to come back. If we deport you, there's no money, obviously, and you'll never be allowed to come back. So it has worked in other countries, some more success than others, but there has been success in Sweden, Denmark, and Germany who've tried it. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you support it? Do you not support it? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X. Again, I'm always active on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhn as in national ER. I gotta tell you, I'm a little conflicted on this one. In principle, I'm a no. You came in illegally, we deport your rear end, bye-bye, have a nice life. 40 million in our country, constant resistance to every attempt to deport them. Many of them are on welfare, collecting massive amounts in government benefits that are, believe me, a hell of a lot more than $1,000. Welfare, healthcare, education, food. I can run down the whole list. Rent subsidies. I mean, you name it. I'm thinking $1,000. If that's what it takes, let's do it. So I would probably vote. Yeah, I would be at an A on this, but I could definitely see the argument for the other side. 617-266-6868. Tom in Westford. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
As always. The thing about arresting these people, he's got to start doing something, because if you notice, it's like a cancer. It just keeps spreading and spreading. He has to do something. I mean, I know they're afraid of the image of arresting them and making them a martyr, but they're breaking the law. It's funny how the Democrats, they have no problem arresting people and throwing them in jail and marching them to march. But the Republicans, they're afraid to do anything. I hope something happens so they can stop doing this.
Well, Tom, look, I so agree with you. Let me restate the obvious. Again, people may, after a while, you get so numb to certain things. The Democrats raided Donald Trump's home. They came in with FBI agents, guns drawn. Guns drawn. They raided his home with shoot to kill orders. They went right through his property. They rampaged his house. They took his possessions. They went through Melania's underwear, for God's sake. And they were willing to put him behind bars. They went after him on 4 separate cases. They were going to put him behind bars for 500 years, half a millennium. And they didn't give a damn he was former president of the United States. They didn't give a damn he was the leading presidential, not just the opponent, the opposition candidate. He was leading Biden in the polls. It didn't matter. Biden, Kamala, whoever. He was the leading presidential candidate, period. And a former president to boot. Unprecedented in American history. They didn't give a damn. Merrick Garland, look, to give the guy his due. The devil his due. He went after him not once, twice. There were 2 state cases and 2 federal cases. So he sicked Alvin Bragg and Letitia James in New York to get him. He sicked Fannie Willis in Georgia to get him. And then he got Jack Smith to get him on 2 federal cases. Now, okay, not just that. Who was Trump's, literally, his right-hand man when it came to trade? It was Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro has been his top trade advisor for years. They put his ass in jail on nothing. Steve Bannon, one of his top people, top advisors, they put his ass in jail on nothing. I mean nothing. They put J6er after J6er. They put old ladies in jail for 15 years for going to the freaking toilet. Okay? I'm being honest. I had this poor woman beside me at the previous rally. She went into the Capitol building because she was waiting for a peaceful protest to give speeches, and she waited for 3 hours. She said there were no restrooms. They opened the door. The police officer waved her in. She goes, I was following instructions. I went in. I said, I'm sorry, I need to use the restroom. He said, sure, it's right there. She went, she used the restroom. She came out. Now you're inside the Capitol. You know what she did? Click, 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 click. Ooh, look at this. Because really, the Capitol is beautiful. And it's very historic. And so she took a couple of pictures. She said, I wasn't there more than 120 seconds. She left. They put her in jail. No due process. So what I'm saying is, they arrested thousands of people for nothing. It's treason. It's sedition. It's breaking federal law after federal law. It's concealing illegal aliens, aiding and abetting, obstructing federal law enforcement. I could go on and on. And these Republicans don't have the guts to put handcuffs on them? Okay, so to speed up the process of removing, literally now we're talking tens of millions. That's an army. That's the size of many countries. The population, forgive me, of many countries. So to speed up the process of deporting, removing tens of millions of illegal immigrants or illegal aliens, President Trump is now offering a carrot, an incentive, through the Department of Homeland Security. They're the ones that are going to be quarterbacking this. They are now going to offer free flights back home. It's going to be safe. It's going to be on a proper flight. It's not, it's going to be, in other words, they're not just going to dump you off on the Mexican border and, take a bus ticket home. No, you'll be flown back properly to your country of origin along with $1,000 stipend, only to be paid after these illegals are officially in their home country, and it's been confirmed through the Customs and Border Protection app. Now, it's much quicker. I mean, just to be frank, it is much quicker than, going through ICE and Customs and Border Protection and Department of Homeland Security, and everybody's got to get involved. Now, just so that you know, according to DHS, according to Department of Homeland Security, a single deportation costs American taxpayers $17,121. Okay, let's not quibble about the $121. $17,000, according to DHS. I'm just going by government statistics. One deportation, everything that it takes to finally get them out, $17,000. So, according to DHS, that's why they like this plan a lot. They say even if you throw in the $1,000 and, a nice flight back home, went on a commercial airline or whatever, this is still going to decrease the cost, the self-deportations, by at least 70%. So far, I'm going by government statistics, DHS, 5,000 illegal aliens have reportedly used this Customs and Border Protection app to voluntarily leave the country. Now, that's not much. I think 5,000 to me is, the proverbial drop in the bucket. But they think if we throw in that $1,000, maybe that number will go up. Now, just so that you can compare, the cartels, basically, this is the inverse of Biden. It's like the inverse. Biden let them come in. Trump is now going to have them leave. The human smugglers, the cartels who were trafficking these people into the country, on average, the human smugglers charged up to $15,000 per person to get them into the country illegally. In fact, according to media reports in Dallas, the cartels, for the Dallas area, it was, Texas, it was $18,000 to cross. So basically $15,000 to $18,000 to come in. So, it seems to me that $1,000 and a free flight home is a bargain compared to what they had to pay just to get into the country. I mean, you can't make this up. Now, one last point, and I know you're going to say, Jeff, where are you going with this? There was a new Rasmussen poll out. And trust me, you got to listen to this because this is very interesting. By the way, the poll numbers you're seeing are lies. Rasmussen is the most reputable of all the pollsters. Trump is now doing very well. He's about a 50% approval, much higher than what the media is reporting. But what's also interesting, he's doing well with whites, better with men than with women, but still doing well with women. He's also doing surprisingly well with young voters. He's doing well with black males in particular. But there is one group that he now towers with. In fact, he's more popular with this group than he is with whites, than he is with men, than he is with women, than he is with young voters. I mean, just you pick your demographic. Hispanics. Latinos. 62% approval among Latinos. Even more than, traditionally whites tend to be more supportive of Trump, MAGA, Republicans, in terms of percentages. Latinos now are the backbone of Trump's support and of MAGA. And when pressed, why? I mean, these are unbelievably high numbers. This is what they tell Rasmussen, and they'll tell every pollster, except they don't have the guts to report it. Illegal immigration has disproportionately impacted Latino neighborhoods, Latino communities, Latino areas. And so they sew back Trump's deportation, his deportations and his removal operations, that his support now among the Latino community and among Latino voters skyrocketing. Skyrocketing. So, to make a long story short, I think if you polled many voters, especially Latino voters, $1,000 cash, free flight back home, you like it? I think a lot of them would say, whatever it takes, just get them out. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Fran in Lowell. Thanks for holding, Fran, and welcome.
Well, since I did hold, Jeff, I'm going to go to what I called about, and that is jihad. But I will say one thing about Massachusetts while I'm on the point, since I live in Lowell. Any state like the historically incredible Massachusetts that would hire 2 lesbians to run it is already on the way downward. And as we can see, it's just going worse day by day. I'll get back to jihad. I've been asking you several times in letters to please bring Brigitte Daniel on, or maybe comment on her, because she predicted every single step of what would happen if we allowed all of that kind of immigration that we've allowed to happen in Europe first, and of course now here, and now widening all over the United States, and no one's listening. She wrote it out. She spelled it word for word. I know you've read that book that she wrote, Because They Hate. That was her first book, and I think the most effective. Am I right? Because I think we discussed this book once, that Because They Hate, that was her first book. Have you ever had her on, Brigitte Daniel?
Yes, I've had her on. Obviously, she knows her stuff really well. Look, I think there's no question. I mean, I don't want to get too off track here, but I think there's no question. There is a planned infiltration of the United States. It's what the radical Islamists call immigration jihad. And, there's a city now in Texas. I mean, look it up. Please don't take my word for it. Muslims now are pushing for their own city in Texas. And it's going to be like their Mecca in North America. And it's going to cater only to Muslims. It's going to have Sharia law. They want minarets and mosques everywhere. And they want to bring Muslims from all over the world, especially all over North America, to migrate now to this Mecca of North America. And notice, they didn't pick a blue state. Think about it. They didn't pick, I don't know, Connecticut. They didn't pick Vermont. They didn't pick the hippies, the ex-hippies. No, they went to the heartland. They went to Texas, which is, as you know, if you follow electoral politics, Texas is everything to the Republicans winning presidential elections. It is the backbone of middle America. We lose, if MAGA loses Texas, if conservatives lose Texas, forget it. We'll never win another election again. So they are going into the heart of MAGA country and into the heart of middle America. Okay, so many of you are quickly texting the Kuhner Man and emailing me saying, Jeff, whoa, I didn't hear about this so-called Muslim city that wants to be quote-unquote Sharia compliant with a huge mega mosque. Well, look it up for yourself. Governor Greg Abbott himself has spoken about it. It is being pushed aggressively by the East Plano Islamic Center. Plano as in Plano. And anyway, they want to do it right there in Texas. And they want to do it in Collin County. That's the area they're looking at. And Abbott says he wants to fight it tooth and nail. He's saying that they're investigating this. The Attorney General's looking into it. He wants state legislators to get involved. But they're going to try to prevent this so-called, what they're calling an epic city, or this Muslim city, from coming to fruition. But there's no question about it. It would be built on a 402-acre site. And apparently it covers parts of Collin and Hunt counties. And plans include, the preliminary plans, over 1,000 homes, a mosque, a mega mosque, a Muslim school, a Muslim community college, and sports facilities. And the goal, according to the resident scholar, Yasir Kadhi, of the East Plano Islamic Center, is to create a quote-unquote Muslim neighborhood that would be Sharia compliant and that would have Sharia law. So basically, they're trying now to create in Texas what they've created in Britain, in France, in Austria, in Germany, in Italy, in Spain, in Canada, many places in the Western world. They want to essentially create a no-go zone or a Muslim-only zone in which they essentially rule themselves. It's a form of apartheid, but not in the sense of, you're oppressing them. It's they want to separate from the larger society and insulate themselves and then grow and grow and grow. And then they want to replicate this in other states, eventually across the entire country. So, the objectives are there. And the question now is, what are we going to do about it? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so President Trump now is offering $1,000 cash stipend, a free flight back home to potentially help millions of illegal aliens self-deport. Do you support it? Do you like the idea? And do you think it'll work? Many of you are texting me on the text line saying, Jeff, if they spent all this money to get here and they've been mooching off the system for so long, why would they want to voluntarily go back? Well, I think because they're afraid they're going to get deported. And so they're thinking, if I get deported, it's over. I'll never be allowed to come back in because Trump has sealed the border completely. In this case, they get a flight back home. They don't have to pay a smuggler or whoever to get them back, or a trafficker to get them back. And $1,000, which in many third world countries goes a long way. And there's always a chance for them to come back into the United States. So, it has worked. It's not something new. It's been done in certain countries. some with success, others with really good success. Trump likes it. Homan supports it. Do you? Tommy in West Virginia. Thanks for holding, Tommy, and welcome.
Yeah, Jeff, to answer your question, yeah, Trump's being pragmatic. Just get him out of here. If it costs $1,000, you're not rewarding him. Just please. They need to leave. And I agree with him. And if they want to reapply, if they don't have a criminal record, maybe down the line, fine. Because I'm going through an immigration process with my fiance from the Philippines, who's had to get medical examinations, a criminal background check from their version of the FBI. So, Biden just let people in unvetted, and I don't care what they tell me on National Public Radio. I'm fed up with NPR. But what I wanted to tell you is that they've been using this crap about Diego Garcia, about him not getting proper justice or whatever the word they use. 1929, Congress passed a law, and it's under Section 1325 and 1326 of Title 8 of the U.S. Code. Misdemeanors and felonies, respectively, for entering the country unlawfully. So basically what happens, if you get a run-in with the law and they find out you're here illegally, you may get a misdemeanor, you may get a felony. But if you've re-entered after already getting a deportation order, you've committed a felony. Now, as far as what the caller brought up about the Muslim neighborhood in Texas, I made a prediction years ago that you would slowly see progressives in this country with regards to polygamy, that at some point Muslims are going to go before the Supreme Court and they're going to say, look, this is our religion. This has been a tradition since the 7th century, that we're allowed to have more than one wife, and there's plenty of countries throughout the world, including the Philippines, where you're allowed, if you're a Muslim, to have up to 4 wives. And you know who's going to back them? It's going to be the NPR crowd. And those are the same people that have vilified the Mormon Church. All right? Congress passed a law back in the 1800s that you can only one man, one wife. And like I say, we are watching the destruction of America, and people have to fight back. And I made that prediction on Facebook, and I got some nasty comments from classmates. I also made the prediction in 2012 that you would slowly see pedophilia being normalized. It would come within 2 groups, the gay rights movement as well as academia. Looks like I was right again. Now, Jeff, if I could only pick Powerball numbers, oh, my God.
Well, Tommy, it's funny because as you're talking, I'm just thinking what you're seeing now. Let's just take this Muslim mega city that they're trying now to build. They're replicating. We can pick many countries, but let's just pick France because that's one I think many of us know. It's the same strategy. It's the camel under the nose. We just want to be tolerated. We just want to be tolerated. Then they get bigger in numbers, and then they start to become more militant. And they start to demand more and more. And then it goes from toleration to already in Minneapolis now, in these Somali areas, they have now been given the right public prayers. The morning prayer on a speaker now can blare across parts of Minneapolis. So now it's no longer just toleration. Now we have the right to blast our speakers and wake everybody up, so you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and pray to Allah. Now they're going, so they want Sharia. Now they're going for no-go zones, like in France. France has this, where you have these Muslim areas spreading, almost like tumors, like cancer, and growing and growing and growing. Police are not allowed. French law is not recognized. French sovereignty is not recognized. And they're getting more militant, more Islamist, more Sharia compliant. And pretty soon, France is going to have a major insurgency on its hands. And so my question to you, Tommy, very simple. Are we now facing, in many ways, an invasion from within?
People that we've invited here, and the bottom line is, it's better to be a wise welcomer than a foolish friend, And Jeff, I've been listening to you since the beginning, and I remember you telling me that you went to a Western European country and you had an imam take you down a basement to meet the future, the holy warriors. I'm paraphrasing what you said, but it was probably about a decade ago that you said that in the morning in WRKO. And that is what's happened now. And it's gotten to the point in England now of where the English, I don't know what happened to the English male, but I think he lost his testicles, if I'm not mistaken. At some point, when somebody tells me in my country, you're going to do things my way or else, oh no, those are fighting words. Am I clear?
You know, Mike, I got to tell you, sorry, Tommy, forgive me. I got to tell you, Tommy, that was Paris. That was Paris 2005. And we went to the Grand Mosque. It's called, the Grand Mosque, the Grand Mosque de Paris, the Grand Mosque of Paris. It's the biggest mosque in the whole city. And we went in. We had Grace had her students with her, and she took her students. This was then when she was teaching in Washington, D.C. at Howard University. I was at the Washington Times. So we went together with her students, and we said, hey, look, the students said, we really want to see the mosque because everybody's talking about the rise of Islam in France. And they didn't believe it, that they were a threat. They didn't want to believe it. So they said, we want to meet the imam. So I said, well, okay. So we went, and forget even getting to the mosque. As you walk towards the mosque in the neighborhoods, I'm telling you, you feel transported to the Middle East. The women were covered head to toe. I don't mean one, two. Every woman. Every woman. Nobody spoke French. It was all Arabic languages I'd never heard of. And you really felt like you were in the Middle East. And the moment we walked in, we were not welcome. We were told by the imam we were not welcome. They really didn't like the fact that we brought women with us. And we were very polite, very respectful. My French then especially was still pretty good. Grace's French is excellent, even to this day. And I said, no, sir, please, we're not here to argue or debate or criticize you. These are students from Washington, D.C., from America. George Bush was president then. And they don't believe that Islam is a threat to France, Europe, or the West. And they want to understand more about Islam. And that's when he took me downstairs. He said, come here. He found out I was a journalist. And, you're talking with a primitive imam now. And so he says, you know George Bush, right? I'm like, whoa, I don't know George Bush. What are you talking? I don't know George. What, you think I party with George Bush? You think I golf with George Bush? He goes, no. You live in Washington. You all know George Bush. And that's when he said, come. And he took me downstairs. My heart was beating. I'm like, what is this guy going to do to me? All young men, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And it's true. They were washing their feet. And he looked at me and he said, look at our holy warriors. These are mujahideen, he says to me. Their souls are pure. Their hearts are clean. Their feet are clean. We are the future. And he goes, you tell George Bush from us. Today we're going to take Paris. Tomorrow, Europe. And after that, America. He goes, you go and tell him that. I'm giving you the shortened version because I got Grace waiting on the line to come on. But my point is, and then Grace sent a couple of the male students, because no way would they allow a female down there, to come in and, what, did you kidnap me? And so they came in and, they were knocking and they were scared. And to be honest, it was primarily, it was an African-American, it's Howard, it's a predominantly black college. So these were big, strong, tough African-American young college students. They were, like 6'2", 6'3". They were big, strong guys. You could see the fear in their eyes. They all, there's no peace here. We make trouble, they'll decapitate us on the spot. They'll cut our head off on the spot and not even think twice about it. So they said, we gotta go now. Mr. Kuhner, we gotta go now. And I'm like, okay. So, And that was right there in the heart of Paris at their biggest mosque. And that was 20 years ago. It's gotten infinitely worse. They're doing it here. What they've done in France, what they've done in Europe, Western Europe, they're now doing it here. And you're right. The NPR crowd, they're so stupid and so naive and so gullible. Honestly, it should be criminal. It really is. These people have a death wish. That's the only explanation I can have. Or as you put it, they've lost their testicles. I don't care. Door 1 or door 2, they're trouble. Liberals would rather submit to Islam. They would rather be killed by an Islamist than stand up to what Islam is. That's the kind of cowards that they are. But anyway, I digress. Joining me now, as she always does at this time, Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Vuoto. Grace, how are you?
I am well, Jeff. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. I want to play a cut. Mike Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, was at the White House yesterday, made a lot of news, and this is what he said to President Trump. Now, you remember, Carney won his election just a couple weeks ago, campaigning against Trump, saying that the era of American integration is over. He is now going to stand up to Trump. He's going to punch him in the nose. He's going to wage a trade war, a tariff war with the United States, and he's going to show Trump who's boss. Yesterday, not so much. Listen now to Carney talking to Trump. Roll cut 2, Mike.
Thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here, with the help of my colleagues here. I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada. With a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic.
So he's talking about the Arctic and securing the Arctic, and then he said that Canada is not for sale, and it never will be for sale. And of course, Trump responded, never say never. My question to you, Carney, is Canada an ally still of the United States? And do you blame Trump for Carney's victory in Canada, as many conservatives in Canada and here seem to be blaming Trump?
Jeff, yes, I do blame Trump for Carney's victory. I think that the conservatives were poised to win that election, and Canada is in desperate need of a good government, especially one that would have been led by Poilievre. But Donald Trump, this version of Donald Trump, not the Trump 1.0, but Trump 2.0, for some reason has decided to antagonize our dearest allies, including Canada. And it's not that he wants to renegotiate trade, which many Canadians would have accepted, but his comments about turning Canada into the 51st state are deeply offensive. He has wounded Canadian national pride, and to my astonishment, he's not going to stop. Even yesterday, he repeated it again, and he made the case again. And you can tell that Carney, as every Canadian listening, was beside himself. But he tried as much as he could to placate the president. He didn't want to repeat another Zelensky moment. But obviously, Canadians are furious at the United States. And we would be too in America if other countries spoke to us the way that Trump is speaking to Canadians.
See, that's where I kind of disagree with you, because other countries around the world badmouth us all the time. I mean, just to give you an example, Justin Trudeau, the previous prime minister, after Trump won his election, said that Trump is a racist, that it was racism that brought him to power, sexism that brought him to power, that America is still a racist, sexist country for having elected Donald Trump. We didn't get our panties in a wad. We didn't clutch our pearls. We didn't act like the sky was falling. We didn't start, oh, our feelings are hurt and he's a loser. He's an idiot. That's Justin Trudeau. Let's move on. So I kind of disagree with you. I mean, I got to be honest. I think Carney played up Trump as a boogeyman. You know this better than I do. You've got friends in Montreal who are telling you on the phone they're petrified of an invasion. That as if American troops are amassing at the border and that we're going to send in the military and conquer and annex Canada. I think they're being hysterical. I think they're being immature. I think they're being completely misled by left-wing pro-liberal propaganda in Canada, and that, frankly, they should be ashamed of themselves for electing a buffoon and a gangster and a corrupt globalist like Carney. But that's me. What say you?
Jeff, listen, when Zelensky came to the White House and he disrespected our president, many Americans were furious, as was I, and I defended the integrity of the nation, the integrity of the presidency, and everything we had done for Ukraine. So I disagree with you, Jeff. And I think that the very warm, beautiful relationship that we have had with Canada, it's emotional too. And Canadians do feel betrayed. And it's not just the words that he's using. It's also the actions that have been taken, which are going to be a blow to the Canadian economy. I can tell you from all my friends and relatives that I've spoken to, they're hurt and they're furious, and they don't feel that it's because they're being manipulated. It's because they're responding to what...
They'll get over it. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quickly, this is a text I just got from my wonderful sister down in Tucson, Arizona, Jennifer, Marty as well, her wonderful husband. And so this is what she just sent me. The Canadians, Jeff, can be offended all they want. But Trump's comments were right. Canada would have lower taxes, better health care, a much stronger military, and more freedoms if they became the 51st state of America. But having said that, as an American and a proud American and a former Canadian, I don't want much from Canada. Maybe only Alberta. By the way, Alberta is seriously thinking of seceding. It's the problems with all the gas and the oil, and they are so frightened by Carney's Canada and the left-wing hell that he's going to unleash, that there is now a huge push within Alberta to have a ballot or a referendum and to break away from Canada. So believe me, they got a mess up there right now, but let that go. So my sister says, don't take Canada, but maybe Alberta. Jeff, the Canadians can keep the rest. I don't want more California-style wacky liberals. Well, you see, that's what I think Trump is. Yeah, I know. Look, it's a great piece of property, a lot of resources, minerals, oil, gas. But you incorporate Canada. You make it the 51st state. You're basically incorporating a massive, with the exception of Alberta, Saskatchewan, there's a few provinces. But outside of that, you're incorporating a massive Northern California. I don't think Republicans or conservatives would win an election in 200 years. So I understand in theory it sounds great. In reality, I don't know. I don't know if that's what, would be in the long-term best interests of the United States. But we can agree to disagree. Okay, one more, and I want to go to the phone lines. And this, of course, goes to Sharia law, the Islamization of America, and the Islamization of Europe, which is clearly now taking place. Okay, this is from 603. Right here, 603. All right, Jeff, Jeff, I want you to think of the sick irony here and what the European ancestors would say about what has been happening with the Islamification of Europe over the past 20 years. For hundreds upon hundreds of years, the European countries had to fight and die to battle back the waves of Islamic invasions that sought to overthrow and subjugate the European peoples. Yet these days, the globalist elite leaders of these very same countries welcome in the same enemy with the same aims. What would Charles the Hammer Martel say about this? Brilliant. Brilliant. You know, we look very much at Europe, and I understand that from an American point of view, say through the lens of World War I, World War II, the Cold War. So very modern lens, which I get, obviously, because we rescued Europe in both world wars. But if you take just a quick, longer view of European history, Islam has tried to conquer Europe for over 1,000 years. And much of European history, you go to Greece, you go to Serbia, you go to Albania, you go to Romania, you go to Bulgaria, you go to Croatia, the land of my ancestors. It doesn't matter. Go to Italy, go to Austria, go to France, go to Spain, go to most European countries. And you're going to see castles, towers, fortresses. You're going to see so much of the architecture, you know, historical architecture. You think, well, when was it built? Oh, it was built in 1100. It was built in 1342. Why? To head off Islamic invaders. So you look at the immense death, the sacrifice that so many, I'm talking over many centuries, of European nations, European peoples, European countries who kept Europe free from Islam. And now, really over the last 30, 35 years, it's been a very short time. They've just opened up the gates. And now they have poured into Europe. 617-266-6868 is the number. Lisa in Dudley. Thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Hi, thank you. The purpose of my call is I'm not really sure it's a question or comment, but I am calling about the Sharia law thing in Plano. And I first read an article about it 2 weeks ago, and it shocked me then. I'm glad it's finally people are talking about it. That said, 402 acres isn't a little piece of land, so I'm going to assume they didn't take out a mortgage and they paid cash for it. So that's a lot of money. That said, if you build something saying that it's under a religious belief or a religious building, does not now all become tax exempt to them?
Yes.
And I can't help but wonder, did they pick Texas because of their gun laws being kind of flex as they are?
Oh, that's a very good point. I don't know, Lisa. Honestly, I don't know. I can just tell you this. I'll give you a very quick example.
Thank you.
Within less than a month after the 9/11 Islamic terrorist attacks, okay, on September 11, 2001, you've got 3,000 Americans dead. You still have the rubble at Ground Zero. They haven't even cleaned up the rubble yet. Already, there was an Islamist group backed by Saudi Arabia with strong support from CARE and other pro-Islamist organizations that wanted to build a mosque right across from Ground Zero. And they didn't want to just build a mosque. They wanted to build almost like a Muslim house. And they wanted to call it the Cordoba House. Now, why Cordoba? Because that was the famous Spanish city that the Muslims conquered in Spain when they invaded Europe over 1,000 years ago. So what I'm saying is, now that was very provocative. And I remember I led the fight against it. I mean, I went Thunderdome. I did story after story. I wrote column after column. You wouldn't believe it. I went on the air. It was, my political jihad. What I'm just trying to say, Lisa, is what I noticed at the time is that they will pick locations or areas to make a statement about, how do I say this? The insider argument that they were making is, if we can conquer the site across from 9/11, we can conquer any ground in America. And so the way I'm looking at it, you may be right. It may be because of Texas's gun laws. But, if you want lax gun laws, you can also go to, Oklahoma. You could go to Arizona. There's other places that have, they're very good on the Second Amendment. To me, I look at this as, if we can conquer Texas, we'll conquer America. And we have to foreigners around the world, this is very hard for us as Americans, but they see Texas as quintessentially American. Like, if you were to go anywhere around the world and you say, think of, the most American place, they go, Texas. Maybe some would say Hollywood, maybe some would say the Statue of Liberty, but most people would say, Texas. Why? They got the cowboy hats. They got the guns. They got the cowboy boots. It's the Alamo. They look at Texas and they go, that's the essence of Americana. And now you and I know different. I mean, nothing against Texas, but, we know America from the inside. And so we know all these other places in America that are just as American as Texas. But to the outside world, Texas is the image of America. And you see, that's the thing I've also learned in my study of Islam and Islamic jihadism. It's, in many ways, our saving grace. It's also a weakness, but it's our saving grace. If you look at Islamic terrorist attacks, or even Islamist infiltration, I'm not the only one that said this. So many experts have said this. If Muslims really wanted to bring a country down, if they were smart, you would just hit mall after mall after mall, or just business after business, and eventually the country, the economy would grind to a halt. I mean, nobody would go shopping, nobody would go to work. But you see, that's not their mentality. It's just so foreign to them. Their mentality is always big targets with landmarks, big names. So take 9/11. It's the Twin Towers. Bring it down. The Pentagon, the symbol of American military might. Smash a plane in it. The one that went down in Pennsylvania, that was either going for the White House or Congress. And if you notice, many of the terrorist attacks that they commit around the world, it's always big targets, historic targets, landmark targets. So this is how they think. So for them, no. We're going to go to Texas. And if Texas falls, America falls. And look, and I got to say, there's a big story in Newsweek. Abbott is going to fight him. Man, it's gotten public. It's a huge story down there. Abbott is fighting him. The Attorney General is fighting him. The state legislature is fighting him. So they're going to get a lot of resistance. And they know if they can beat Texas in Texas, America is theirs. So that's how I see it. Now, you may be right, but, and if they have, and look, you don't want them armed. I'm telling you, that's one group you don't want armed. You give them weapons, you're asking for trouble. But Lisa, you may be right, I may be wrong. I'm just telling you this is the lens or the perspective that I'm seeing it from. But final word to you, Lisa.
Thought that I had in closing and understanding what we know about them and the way they raise families, have children, and women. Where are you left to bring women's rights groups on this? Because how are you allowing this? Because they're not very cordial to the women
that's
in their
an understatement.
society.
No, that's an understatement. Look, Lisa, again, when I went to Paris, that was 20 years ago, they segregate men and women when they worship. And they're open about it. They go, no, women are inferior. Like, women are completely inferior. And he wouldn't even talk to the women. He talked to me and to the other men. Now, he didn't mind lecturing them about Islam, but he looked at the men, and the women are just there to listen. So he won't even acknowledge your face. In fact, he thought it was repugnant that they weren't covered from head to toe. That, how dare you show your personality? How dare you try to elicit sexual desire from men? I mean, like, they're dressed. No, I see their hair and, like he's going to rape her. It's medieval. It's so medieval, we can't fathom it. And that place down there where they wash their feet, that's for the men. And that's only for the men. And they believe in polygamy. They believe in having 2, 3, 4 wives. Frankly, it's very hard to get a conviction on rape in many Muslim countries. Almost impossible. Wife beating, domestic abuse is very, very common. And the thing that the media really covers up is how often they will abuse young girls. The sexual exploitation, I'm talking 10, 11, 12 years old. And by the way, this is now what's happening all across Britain. There were Muslim grooming gangs that raped not just Muslim girls, British girls, white girls, what do you want to call them, English girls. They were 10, 11, 12 years old. They kidnapped them, they raped them, they sold them into prostitution, and the local police in almost every city in Britain knew about it and refused to say anything for fear of coming across as Islamophobic or for fear of generating a backlash from Muslims because they fear that they're going to have a fatwa, an edict put on them, and they'll be killed. So, and it's a massive controversy in England. It's huge. It's huge. Europe is so much more advanced in their the Islamization of their society than we are. And just to show you, again, we're so ignorant of our history. The Muslims now want to take Vienna, the capital of Austria. Now, why? You'd say, well, Jeff, okay, Vienna's a nice city, but, why this obsession with Vienna? Vienna was the capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. I'm going to give it to you in 10 seconds. The Muslims for 300 years, through the Balkans and through Eastern Europe, again and again and again tried to take Vienna. Hence the famous phrase, the gates of Vienna. They literally got to the gates of Vienna. They were finally beaten back. It was the Poles and the Croatians who heroically pushed them back. Now, why? They said if Vienna falls, then Rome falls, which was the citadel of the Catholic Church. And remember, at the time, it was basically all of Europe. If Rome falls, Europe falls. So the Islamists, the Islamic armies, were obsessed with taking Vienna, and they couldn't get it. Now they openly say, through massive immigration, they say it on the streets, Vienna has now fallen. 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are jammed. You know what? This has been such a hot topic. We're going to probably revisit it, okay? So if I don't get to you, I promise I will. You just call back again. Jose in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jose. Welcome.
Good morning, brother. You miss me?
I miss you, Jose. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Before I get to my points, let me get to this imitation. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jose in Quincy. Thank you for holding, Jose, and welcome.
Now, when you said, did you miss me? Mike is in my ear now saying, Jeff, you just had the perfect chance to say, no way, Jose.
Exactly.
Everybody's a smart aleck, huh, Jose? Everybody's a wise guy. Jose, please, go ahead.
Yes, sir. That was a very astute observation by the other caller on the Texas and the people arming themselves out there. But let me get to this illegal immigration, which is my topic that I called about, and the $1,000. I looked at it, and I'm thinking, why are we paying these scoundrels to leave? Let's round them up and send them out like we did to El Salvador. But then I heard it's fully supported by Tom Homan, and that's all I need to know. If he likes it, I like it, because he's the most knowledgeable one, and it's a bargain. It's a bargain to get rid of them. But I really do believe that these scoundrels that have false asylum claims and have been here and are here and can show paperwork that they got from Biden, they're still laughing at the dumb gringo, Jeff.
Oh, I agree. No, Jose, I mean, you're right. They are laughing at us. Because increasingly now, I don't know if we can get all 20 million out. I mean, that's how much they let in. And, I mean, I hope they do. I want them to. I support them, obviously. But you look at the judges, the orders, the Dems, the sanctuary city mayors, sanctuary state governors, the obstacles, the roadblocks, the slow walking, it's just getting harder and harder and harder and harder. And, you know, Jose, look, I'm with you. In principle, philosophically, look, I look at it as someone squats in my house and I got to pay $1,000 to get him out. Like, you know, I got to give him cash to get him out. So it sticks in my craw. But then when DHS says, look, it's going to cost us $17,000 to deport, that's how much a deportation costs. It's, per person is $17,000. So I'm like, well, 17,000, 1,000, 17,000, 1,000. I mean, in the end, Jose, you and I are paying for it. We're the taxpayers. And, Jose, I just got to say this. It's not even my point. Rick texted me on my personal phone. But, he just, one line, he just said, Jeff, do you remember when the Democrats said $5 billion to build a wall was too much money? Remember that? You remember that, Jose? Oh, $5 billion for a wall. Oh my God, this is obscene. $5 billion now is nothing to deport all these illegals. This is going to cost us tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars just to clean up Biden's mess and undo his damage. So I'm with you. $1,000. I'm like, at this point, it's a bargain. What are you going to do? It's our money, so I'm trying to save our money. And I'm also, if Trump's for it and Holman's for it, I'm for it. Jose, as always, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Annie on the South Shore. Thanks for holding, Annie, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning to you. I got to tell you, I am sitting here, I listen to your program, and it's really, really hot today. Hot, hot, hot. And my question is this. I'm really so frustrated and so angry with the fact that I'm a citizen here in the United States of America, born, raised, I'm a Christian. And everything that I am being thrown under the bus. This government that we have that's been fighting us all along, there's somebody behind it, Jeff. Who's behind this, allowing all these illegals to stay here, paying these judges? Even the Supreme Court is so corrupt that it isn't going to help the American citizens. We are being taken over from within. There's no doubt about it. My son went to get his license because it's his birthday. He had a hard time getting it. Finally, he did. But while he was in there, there's the real ID. And one woman who wanted to get her license was turned away because she didn't have her first marriage certificate. She had the present one, but not the one that she was married before. Jeff, this is my country.
Jeez, just treat me like an illegal. I mean, they get licenses like it's candy. You don't have to show really. You don't have to show anything, and they give you a license, or renew a license, or get a real ID, or whatever. The same wealthy billionaires that have flooded Europe with illegals and Islamists are doing the same thing in America. It's the same people. Bye bye.